time comes in life of every pastry chef to learn how to make croissant. Those are not my words, but a famous chef Dominique Ansel, whose recipe we'll be using today to make our first buttery croissant. And although I'm not French and not a pastry chef, it's croissant, not croissant and not croissant. If there are any French people watching this video, please excuse my French. And let me know in the comments below how properly to pronounce croissant. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, but that's beside the point. So, a very important part of proper croissant making is levain. Since it's my first croissant, it will take me 5 days to grow a starter. But just like with the sourdough bread, once it's done, it's done. In order to make a starter, mix 50 grams of unbleached bread flour with 50 ml of warm filtered water. Leave it to chill for a day. Next day, add the same amount of flour and water. On the third day, add twice the amount of each. And from the fourth day onwards, you will be discarding about 80% of the starter and adding 100 grams of flour and 100 ml of water each time. On day 5 and 6, your croissant starter should start growing and look something like this. It should not smell too sour or spoiled, but rather of a healthy fermentation odor. Good starter is the DNA of an excellent croissant. Once your levain is ready, we can start with the dough preparation for our croissants. And that would be day 1 out of 3 days of the croissants making. Take a small bowl and mix together active dry yeast. It's better to use instant yeast here, but it seems like all the shops have it out of stock these gloomy days. So dry yeast it is. Water and a bit of sugar. Let the yeast bloom for a few minutes. Meanwhile, mix together unbleached bread flour, butter of at least 83% of fat content, sugar, eggs, 35% cream, salt. I've used my favorite vanilla scented salt for this recipe. Just put your used vanilla beans in a container with salt and voila, scented salt is ready. And don't forget to add our 5 days old levain. By this time, yeast should be fully bloomed and ready. Add it in and mix the dough for a little while, about 5 minutes on medium speed. Just let it incorporate all the flour. But do not work it too hard though. We don't want too much of a gluten development in our croissants. Once you're done, the dough should still be rough. Transfer it to an oiled bowl, cover with a plastic wrap, or like me, put it in a plastic bag that you can reuse several times for all your bread projects, and let it rest at room temperature for an hour and a half. During this time, it should double in size. While the dough is resting, we can work on our next most important ingredients to perfect croissants: butter. Cut it to pieces and soften it to a paste consistency using the stand mixer. Then take a parchment paper and draw an 18 by 18 cm square on it. Turn the paper upside down so your butter does not touch the pan and start spreading the butter. Use a spatula or a dough scraper to aid you. Quality of the butter that you use is extremely important. I cannot stress this enough. Just look at the proportions. Butter constitutes a big part of the final product, so it just must be good. Make sure also that you use butter that has at least 83% fat content in it. As you can see here, I had a bit of a baking paper crisis at this point. Well, I was basically out of it. So I had to use some plastic wrap. Otherwise, I would have used baking paper all alone. It would have been much easier to handle. But whatever, it worked. Make sure to spread your butter evenly all throughout the square. Keep the same height. Cover your butter with plastic wrap or parchment paper, doesn't really matter at this point, and put it in the fridge. We are done with it for today. In an hour and a half, uncover your dough. It should be twice as big in size. Dust it a bit with flour so it doesn't stick and transfer it to a workstation. Punch out all the air. And form it into a 25 by 25 centimeters square shape. I'm using here my foil square. It is exactly 25 by 25 centimeter size. It's just easier for me to do it this way. But you can totally use a ruler or any other method that you prefer. Here, just like with butter, it's important to roll out a dough evenly, with the same height all the way through the square. Then, once the time comes to laminating, the layers on our croissant would be just perfect. Cover it with plastic wrap tightly, so no air touches it, and put it in the fridge along with the butter. Let it rest there overnight. During this time, dough will cold-proof a bit, cool down, and most importantly, develop delicious flavors. Day 1 is over. On the next day, take out your butter block out of the fridge 10 to 15 minutes earlier than the dough. Butter should be cold, but not hard. It should be elastic and bend easily without breaking apart. Dust your workstation lightly with flour. Uncover your dough and place it on the workstation. By the way, make sure your workstation is large enough, at least half a meter long. That's how far we'll be rolling out our dough. Place the butter block on top of the dough on an angle, like a diamond. And roll in the edges of the dough. And cover the butter block with them, like an envelope. You see how I'm doing it? Pinch together all the spaces in between. Turn it around and start rolling. 3 things are important here. Number 1. Roll in one direction only. You will see later that each rolling session we will be rolling and stretching the dough in just one direction, changing it with the next roll. Second, make sure that the dough does not stick to your workstation. That is very important. You want it to be rolled out willingly and not forcefully stretched, but don't overdo with the flour either. And the third one, take your time and roll it out evenly. Try to keep the width to 25 centimeters all the way through, with even edges and width. Make the first roll to 50 centimeters in length. Brush off any extra flour and fold the dough in 3. Our first 3 layers are done. Cover it tightly with plastic and put it in the fridge to rest and cool down for 30 minutes. In half an hour or so, take the dough out of the fridge and start rolling it out. This time, we will change direction of stretching. So make sure that when you roll out your laminated dough, the folded edges face your way. Roll it out again to 50 centimeters length, fold it in 3 just the same, and back to the fridge it goes for another 30 minutes. We are 9 layers in. Another half an hour later, and we're doing our final third fold. Roll the dough again to 50 centimeters length and fold it in 3. Rest for another 30 minutes in the fridge. Now, it's time to prep for the croissants rolling. Roll out the dough again to approximately 50 by 25 centimeters in size. Trim off the edges with your sharpest knife and cut out neat triangles 8 centimeters in width. As you might have guessed, these triangles are our future croissants. Place those pastry croissants in a baking tray, cover with plastic and cool down again in the fridge for 30 minutes. By this time, I've already lost the track of time. No idea how many hours were into this process. But all the time would be totally worth it at the end, trust me. There is nothing better than the smell and taste of the freshly baked buttery croissants. Can't wait. Take out the pastry triangles out of the fridge and stretch them a bit in length. Let's say 5 centimeters extra. Then proceed to rolling them to croissants. Do not put any pressure whatsoever when you roll them in. Cover one last time for today with plastic wrap and leave in the fridge overnight for final cold proof. It's day 3, the final day of our croissants making. They're so close right now, I can almost touch them. Okay, I should stop dreaming right now and continue. I've taken the croissants out of the fridge and let them proof at room temperature for about 3 hours. As you can see, they've almost doubled in size at this point. So don't wait anymore. Brush them lightly with an egg wash, a mixture of an egg yolk and a bit of milk and salt, and put right into the preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit oven. Bake for 15 minutes. That's it for today, guys. All the exact proportions for the ingredients are listed in the description as always, so make sure to check it out. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.